Hello and welcome back to another UCL fantasy video. Today we're taking a look at the Limitless chip for Matchday 5. It is actually looking like a pretty decent week to use it. You know, we've got the likes of Barcelona and Dortmund with nice fixtures this week, who then play each other next week. So again, you know, getting the good fixtures this week and then not having to worry about the tougher one next week. So we're going to look at clean sheet odds, you know, goal odds. We've got a draft upcoming as well. We're also going to look at some of the best players you can get from each of the teams with the best fixtures this week. If you are new, make sure to leave a like and subscribe because we do UCL fantasy stuff all the time. We've got, you know, wildcard guides, limitless guides, and of course team selections before the deadline. Make sure you follow me over on Twitter as well, because I post all the news relating to injuries and predicted lineups before the deadline when it comes to UCL fantasy. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it. So a lot of nice fixtures to take a look at this week. Obviously, we don't really have to worry about the worst fixtures because, you know, it's just kind of players that we have to avoid. So, you know, no Real Madrid players, no Vinicius Jr., no Jude Bellingham, no Liverpool players. I mean, you know, with the state of Real Madrid's defence, and it being a home fixture and the form that Liverpool's in, I wouldn't blame you for going for Mo Salah. But obviously you want to be, you know, targeting the best fixtures this week, even though Salah could still do pretty well against Real. He's not going to be in my draft for this team, but like I say, I definitely wouldn't hold it against you if you went for him. No Bayern, no PSG this week, you know, the likes of Harry Kane and stuff. Again, still, you know, very possible that Kane could do well with a home fixture against PSG, but we are going to be focusing on the green fixtures this week for our draft. And again, you know, looking at these green fixtures, you've got Barcelona, you've got Borussia Dortmund, two teams that we have been putting a big focus on all of our UCL videos throughout the group stage, because they have been the two teams that have had a really nice fixture run. In terms of the other expensive teams, obviously with a Limitless, we've got unlimited budget to use. So Atletico's up there, Leverkusen obviously up there as well, and Atalanta, you know, kind of a lot of mid-ranged players in there. This is a week where, when trying to make my draft, I did struggle to use up the full budget, or, you know, go over the usual budget, because there is a lot of nice fixtures for a lot of our cheaper teams this week. So yeah, pretty struggling to get like the 105, 110 million teams this week, due to the fact that there is so many, you know, good cheap teams to look at this week. So clean sheet odds this week, it is Barcelona and Man City who are dominating it, with the two teams above 50%. You know, it is kind of a given at this point. Man City aren't actually on the good fixtures list. They are playing against Feyenoord at home, so even though it's not, you know, a green fixture, it is something that you would expect them to do quite well in, despite the fact that they are on, you know, a very poor run right now with, I think, 5 losses in a row. You would hope that they could still do pretty well against Feyenoord. And, you know, the likes of Phil Foden, who's been playing in the Champions League and not in the league, still, you know, hoping that he could do something in that game. And he has done very well since basically match day 2. Milan are up there with 48%, Leverkusen at 47%, which is nice to see. Atlanta at 41% as well. These three teams are teams that do have very attacking fullbacks, so we can look at those, the likes of Theo Hernandez for Milan. Leverkusen, you've obviously got Frimpong and Grimaldo. However, Frimpong did pick up an injury at the weekend, so I'm not too sure what's happened with him. Again, make sure to follow me on Twitter. That is just there, and the link's also in the description. And I'll keep you up to date with any news we get on whether he is going to play or not. Then obviously Atalanta play with wingbacks, Bellanova, Zappacosta as well, also picked up an injury. He's going to be out as far as I know for this week, so it should be Ruggeri. Ruggeri's listed as a midfielder in the game, which isn't ideal. He will probably be the one playing at left back, so your pick is probably going to be Bellanova. Again though, like I mentioned, with trying to struggle to get the proper budget in, Bellanova's only 4.2 million, so a really nice pick. It's just a shame that we've got an unlimited budget and a lot of the good players this week are going to be cheap ones. In terms of odds for over 2.5 goals, we've got quite a few teams this week. Again, similar teams to those who were at the top of the clean sheet odds. Barcelona, Man City, Leverkusen, Milan, Atalanta. They're probably the 5 teams you want to be looking at for your Limitless. And again, a fair few expensive players in there. We'll take a look at the key players in a minute. But these are the teams, you know, an over 50% chance of scoring 3 goals, so you're expecting the midfielders and the forwards to do well. Obviously it is just picking the right ones, but we could pick 2, we could pick 3, depending on who's really available, but above a 50% chance to score 3 goals is huge, so you really want to be making the most use out of it, and trying to get as many attackers from these 5 teams as possible. Obviously, as I did mention about, the Mo Salahs and Harry Kanes, Bayern at 37% isn't too bad, but Liverpool are down at 26% chance to score 3 or more goals. So Salah could potentially get 1, maybe even 2, but a very low chance of Liverpool getting 3 goals this week. Higher than you would expect against Real Madrid, but as I said, the defence is struggling right now for Real with so little defenders available. But yeah, like I said, you want to be focusing on those green teams with the 50% chance and above. So picking out a lot of our key teams for the Limitless in Matchday 5. We've got 8 teams here, which I think could be useful, and that's going to be Borussia Dortmund, Bayer Leverkusen, Atalanta, Barcelona, Milan, Atletico Madrid, Stuttgart and Celtic. Again, the likes of Celtic and Stuttgart, they have your cheaper players, so it's up to you if you want to maybe pick one of them or 2 of them. They are cheaper players, so you're not going to make the most use out of the budget, but a lot of the time the Limitless is just getting the best team for one game, so sometimes you kind of just have to ignore the fact that the budget isn't going to be that much and just focus it as it kind of like a free hit rather than a Limitless chip, if you do have a lot of players who have difficult fixtures in Matchday 6. So in terms of the key players, for Dortmund we've got Guirassy, nailed, plays at striker, sometimes on penalties, sometimes not. It's quite frustrating as someone who owns Emre Can, who's also on this list. It's labelled as the penalty taker, does take penalties. Obviously Guirassy has took a few as well, so 2 penalty takers in there. Can listed as a defender who sometimes plays in midfield, and again, like I said, listed as a penalty taker, a really nice pick. Then Gittins as well, he's only 5.3 million, doesn't matter for the Limitless, but he's been in fantastic form this season. Big points in the Champions League, big returns in the league with 3 goals and 3 assists as well. The only thing about him is the potential return of Adeyemi. I'm not too sure on whether he will be available for the Champions League, but he does tend to play in a similar position to Gittins, so his minutes could really be limited and maybe potentially not even start if Adeyemi is going to be back in the team. So just keep an eye on that one. Again, I've said it a few times already. Make sure to follow me on Twitter and I'll keep you up to date. For Leverkusen, we've got Wirtz and Grimaldo, left out Frimpong because obviously that injury. Don't want to be getting someone who potentially might not play. Nice game against Salzburg, but there's probably no one else that you would want to pick from Leverkusen other than those 2. For Atalanta, we've got Lookman, Belanova and Carnesci. Would have loved to put Ruggeri in here because I think the triple Atalanta defence would have been a really nice shout this week away to Young Boys. They've not conceded a goal in their 4 Champions League games so far, so I would consider them a lot higher than the 41% chance of a clean sheet that they have got. But he's listed as a midfielder, so he's not going to be getting those clean sheet points. So we've got Lookman in there for the potential goals, listed as a midfielder playing up front, which is great. And then Belanova and Carnesci is going to be your double defence, playing as a wing back, Belanova, and then Carnesci, obviously the goalkeeper at 4.5 million. For Barcelona, it's feeling a bit straightforward with who the best picks are. Lewandowski and Rafinha so far have definitely been the best attackers. Yamal hasn't been as good as you potentially would have expected. One of the best value midfielders in the game at 7.5 million, but he's just not really returning as much. He also missed out at the weekend through an ankle injury, so he's another one who does have some doubts of whether he's going to play this week. The only thing with him as well, if he is going to play, the thing is with the Player of the Match award, it does feel like it's a bit of a popularity contest, so I would imagine if Yamal is going to go and score, there's a high chance he gets Player of the Match, which is one of the benefits he does bring with him because he's got a lot of PR around him, and anything he does good gets a lot of attention, so there's a good chance that he would get Player of the Match if he does get a goal and an assist or something like that. We have got Koundé in there as well. He is what I would think is the best defender on a Limitless. Obviously, Kubarsi gives you the best value at 4.5 million, but on the Limitless, Koundé plays as the right back. Picked up 3 assists against Red Star as well, so very nice for attack and returns he is, and obviously got a couple. I think he's got 2 player of the matches in 4 games, so a really nice defender to pick. For AC Milan, we have Pulisic and Hernandez, the 2 most obvious ones in there, but we've also got Reinders, who is the highest point scorer so far for AC Milan. He is picking up goals. He's also getting goals and assists in the league as well, so it's not just, a couple of one-offs in the Champions League. Personally, I do prefer Pulisic. I think he's got more of a chance of doing well attacking-wise than Reinders does. He plays further forward, but he has always a decent differential if you wanted to go there. For Atletico, I've only got Griezmann. I don't really think there's too many good picks. There's a lot of rotation as well in the Atletico side, so Griezmann's the only one I'm really feeling, obviously on penalties and nailed in that squad too. For Stuttgart, we have Mittelstadt, Rualt and Milo. Mittelstadt, 5 million defender. If you played Euro Fantasy, you'll know who he is. Gets a lot of assists, gets very far forward. He would definitely be the number 1 pick for me from Stuttgart. The other 2, a little bit of a, maybe kind of. Rualt is a 4.7 or 4.6 million centre back. He's not going to get attack and returns, but he does pick up ball recoveries. I believe he's averaging about 7 or 8 so far in the Champions League. Wouldn't be picking him over Mittelstadt personally, but if you did want to go for someone who is more safe with points and is going to get ball recovery points, he is an option over Mittelstadt, who could get attack and returns. And then we've got Milo as well, who has been picking up goals and assists, a couple of attack and returns from him if you wanted to go for an attacking player. For Celtic, we've got Kuhn, we've got Schmeichel as well. Kuhn is more of a wild card pick, a budget player at 4.5 million. I've been raving about him since the start, since he was priced at 4.5 million very late on, as a great pick. Again, he's in really good form. I wouldn't let the fact that you're on a Limitless put you off picking him, because he has been absolutely brilliant. 17 points in the previous match day as well, in a nice fixture against Bruges. I think he could do well again. So with all that being said, this is the team I have put together, and as I said, I did struggle to find a lot of expensive players that I wanted to go for. We've got a team worth 100.3 million, which a lot of people would actually be able to afford if you just had a free hit within your actual budget. We're missing out the likes of Erling Haaland. You could always go for him. City have a 50% chance, or 55% chance I think it was, of scoring 3 goals. If you want to pick Erling Haaland, go for it. I just haven't decided to choose him because of how poor he's been recently. But yeah, I went for Griezmann, I went for Guirassy, I went for Lewandowski. Lewandowski should basically be in everyone's team. The same with Rafinha, with that Barca double up in attack. Guirassy, as I mentioned, on penalties. I wanted to cover someone from Dortmund. For him, for me, I believed he was the best pick. I've also got Cabell in there in goals, because he played a separate day to Carnesci, who we've chosen. Griezmann, again, wanted to pick a Atletico player to cover off that match. They're playing Sparta Prague away from home, and like I said, I think Griezmann is probably the only good Atletico player. The midfield, I think, is one of the best that you can get. Rafinha, already spoke about him. Wanted to cover someone from the Man City attack. They're the second highest this week to score the most goals, and Foden's been the best for them in the Champions League, so we've went for him. Lookman, of course, spoke about him already. Pulisic spoke about him already, and then Wirtz pretty much nailed on as well. I think he's one of the first names on the team sheet in a Limitless as well this week. In defence, again, spoke about pretty much all of these players. Koundé, Bellanova, Mittelstadt, don't need to go over them again. Grimaldo, everyone knows how attacking he can be, and a nice chance of a clean sheet as well. And then obviously Vardiol, again, someone who can get a lot of goals, takes a lot of shots, and has a nice chance of a clean sheet. So if you wanted to go back to the clean sheet odds, you can take a look, but basically all these players, this is your like some of your top 5. I think the only person who's not in the top 5 is going to be Mittelstadt, but a game against Red Star, I think he can also get attack and returns. Then for the goalkeepers, of course, Young Boys and Dynamo Zagreb for both of them. Two teams that are very solid defensively. Obviously for Karnaseci, no goals conceded, and Cabell playing for Dortmund lets me complete a Dortmund double up. So in terms of game days, on the 26th on Tuesday, we have Lewandowski, Griezmann, Rafinha, Foden, Lookman, Pulisic, Wirtz, Koundé, Bellanova, Grimaldo, Vardiol and Carnesci. So we've got 12 players playing on Tuesday, which means that we've only got 3 playing on the Wednesday. So if you wanted a full bench, you could easily take someone out here that's playing on Tuesday and go for someone on Wednesday. That way you've got, a full 4 players to come on off the bench. But for me, I'm more than happy just having as many players as possible playing on Tuesday. I think it is probably like, if you wanted to go by the book, probably a good move to move at least one of these Tuesday players out for someone playing on Wednesday. So that's totally up to you if you want to do that. But that's my team if I was going to be using the Limitless this week. So let me know what you think of it down in the comments. Again, make sure to like the video and subscribe, and follow me on Twitter for all the injury news and predicted lineups and stuff like that. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.